decision. When I finished playing football, I knew I needed to get additional education. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I took the approach that I have often since then. Is I asked a lot of people questions, and people I trusted, and I wanted to either get an MBA or a law degree, and I felt like with my business background, my finance undergrad, that might be a little bit redundant. Law was a different kind of training, and I was looking around the landscape, and this was back in 2003, 2004. You were seeing a lot of lawyers get into these positions, be it Purdue as an attorney, be it Notre Dame, Indiana, USC. All those folks were hiring lawyers at that time. And I thought, geez, this might be kind of the wave of the future, and so I better be prepared for that. And so, it's been an unbelievable skill set for me. I certainly don't practice criminal law, at least not on good days. But just the communication, the negotiation, the advocacy, the ability to creatively analyze a problem, to think concisely and cogently, I think has been very helpful.
You talked about the life of the student athletes and trying to enhance that experience. Can you draw from yours playing here and how you hope that theirs mirrors that?
Well, I hope so. I hope so. As I said, I had this unbelievable experience myself as a student athlete, and I hope that we're able to provide that kind of an environment that allows for that for our athletes. And I think I understand what their pressures are. I understand what their time constraints are. The better we can do at surrounding them with the support mechanisms and the people that they need to succeed, the better off we'll be.
And you also said that as a player that you kind of felt that this was the first step, and you had a vision, you wanted to do this. Was there a moment in a game or at a certain age where you're like, I'd like to be athletic director?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact moment, but it was early in my tenure here. It was my freshman, sophomore year or something like that. I think I just started to realize that when I graduated, I was going to need to do something. And for me, this was a nice way to marry my business training that I was receiving as an undergraduate with my passion for athletics. And to be able to do that in a place like this that has meant so much to me, it just was almost too good to be true.
There's a column in the Chicago Tribune that focuses a lot on your relationship with Coach Turner. Can you talk about the role he played and how you stayed in touch after your playing time, that the role that played in bringing you back here?
Coach Turner's been such an instrumental figure in my life. And, I was part of his first recruiting class here, and he and I have just developed a relationship over time. Of course, it's changed significantly since I stopped playing for him when I was a player. Like most of us, I was kind of in awe of him and always a little nervous to go in and talk to him. But he was such a kind person. I remember going to his house, and his wife cooked dinner for us, and just created such a family atmosphere. Since I left here, he's moved around a fair bit, and a lot of times our paths have crossed, and we've been able to catch up somewhere out on the road, and have gotten very close with both him and Wendy, and they just continue to be very, very important people to me.
Anyone else that, aside from the chancellor and the search committee, that played such a large role that you credit to help get you back in position?
Well, Matt Wheeler, of course, who chaired the search committee, has been someone who's been not a colleague, but a confidant of mine for a long time. He's been a mentor and just been incredibly important in my life. Larry DeBrock, who's here today, former dean of the College of Business, was the very first person I ever met in the academic realm when I came here. They set up a meeting for me with him on my official visit, and he was the representative from the business school because they knew that I wanted to study business, and that kind of sowed the seeds of a relationship that has persevered now for almost 20 years, and he and I have stayed very, very close. So those were all folks, and then there's a long list of people at the law school who have been very important to me. So it's been very humbling.
I think so. You talked a minute ago about taking a run by the alma mater.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of spontaneous.
Yeah, I try and get out and exercise, and I thought that before everything got rolling today, it might be good to get out and get the blood flowing a little bit. And so I got out early this morning and had a chance to take a loop around the campus, and it was really nice just to stop and see some things I hadn't seen. Grange Grove and its new iteration, and so had my phone with me, took a couple pictures, and I ran by the law school up on the quad. It was really nice.
How far do you typically go?
I would say anywhere from 4 to 6 miles is kind of my standard run.
Every other day, 3 times a week?
3 times a week. And then I try and I alternate running and lifting, so it just kind of depends on the week and the schedule. But I try and get 3 days a week if I can.
Yeah, what else do you want to do once you get here? Not job duties, but like, man, I want to, I don't know, go to that restaurant or see that part of town, or other goals.
Sure. Well, I'm just excited to introduce Hope to the community and have a chance for her to see all the wonderful things that are here in Champaign-Urbana. But there's a long list. I'm a long time believer in the ribeye restaurant. I love the ribeye. We go there. We went there on my official visit, and every time my parents are in town, we go over there, and then we walk over to the Custard Cup and get some ice cream. Is it closed now? I thought it closed and then came back.
Are they coming back?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm putting in a plea. I'd ask for them to reopen if they're closed.
First thing AAD wants is new custard.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right.
When was first contact in this deal with you between Illinois and you?
Yeah, they reached out mid to late December
Okay.
and just kind of said, "What do you think?" Is
Do you know who it
something
was?
that you're
It was
interested in?" It was Matt Wheeler.
Okay.
Matt called me and just said, "Hey, I just wanted to. We've known each other a long time. Want to see if this is something that interests you or not." And as I told him at the time, certainly it's interesting. But I told him I've got a great situation where I am, and I want to understand that it's a truly open search and that I have a chance. And if I don't have a chance, that's fine. I'll go back to the life I have and be very happy with that. But if you tell me that I'm going to have a legitimate opportunity, then I'm very interested.
What was the next step for you in this whole process?
Well, there wasn't much, really. I mean, it went quiet for a while,
Right.
and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I got a call from the search firm saying
Which
that
is-
we'd like to interview you.
When?
Well, it was about 8 or 9 days before the interviews happened that day in Indianapolis that was reported. So it was maybe a week ahead of that.
So what day did you actually interview?
You'd have to go back and look at that. The papers did a good job of reporting that. I can't remember when it was. It was a Monday. It was probably 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
3 or 4 weeks ago.
So when people said you were there, you were actually there.
I was actually there.
They won't
Yes.
tell me the hotel, but some unnamed
I was
hotel
actually there.
in Indy.
Yes.
And did you feel like you said that nobody tells you you did great or whatever?
Right.
But how did how'd you feel?
I felt good about it. You try and pick up on cues from people. You see if people are nodding their head or if they're smiling. It's like
Right.
a study in nonverbal communication. And so I felt good about it. You just never know. You never know what's going to resonate with one person or another. So I was cautiously optimistic when I left, but you never know. And again, of course, it's all relative too. So
Right.
just because I felt good, maybe somebody else went in there and just crushed it.
How about you talking with Barb? How'd you feel after you talked to her next, what I understand?
Yes.
How'd that go with her? Could you tell, was she paying attention?
I thought it was great.
Okay.
We were scheduled for 30 minutes. I think we ended up talking well over an hour.
Okay.
And she said I didn't realize this at the time. She didn't take a note. It was just us having a conversation and a lot of. It was just very comfortable right away. I appreciated her humility. I appreciated her perspective. I think she will be the first to tell you that historically she's not known a lot about athletics, and it's something that she's learning very quickly. But I appreciated that she seemed willing to defer to those of us who do this every day. I think there's someone in a role like this that's important. The same way that I said about the football coach, I'm not going to interfere and get outside of my lane. I think she understands the same thing. So it was a great conversation. We clearly share a passion for this place, and left that discussion very enthused about the opportunity.
What was next? What happened for you after that?
There wasn't much after that. It went, again, went quiet for a while,
Okay.
and then I started to hear some things. Nothing official or formal, but just you kind of start to read between the lines and start to get a sense that things might be looking better. But then I got a call. I guess it was a week ago today.
Okay,
That things were looking good. And
can you tell me who that was?
that was a search firm.
Search firm
It was a
called
search
you.
firm, yeah, and said, look, things are looking really good. The chancellor was going to call you on Sunday night and talk with
You just said that. Right?
Yeah, we're going to call you on Sunday night and have a conversation with you. She'll kind of outline where she's at in the process. It sounds like they'd like you to meet with the president and the board, the chair of the board of trustees on Monday morning.
Did you do that?
I did.
Okay.
And so everything went as they said it would. She called me Sunday night. We chatted. She was very excited about me, which was incredibly humbling. I had the chance to meet with the president and the board chair Monday morning. And then Barb called Monday night and officially offered me the job.
So she didn't offer you Sunday?
No.
That's what she told. I think she told me she offered Sunday, but really Monday.
Well, I mean,
Sunday.
It was clear. It was clear that that's what was happening. I mean, it was a commitment to me. As you're the person that we want.
Okay.
And then Monday night she called and reiterated that commitment and said we continue to be very excited.
Between the call on the Thursday and the Sunday call from Barb, what was those two? You were working, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You're probably talking to Hope, talking to family. What was that like? Was it kind of crazy? Was it kind of, or did you try to, how'd you feel?
Well, I felt I keep using it, just unbelievably humble and grateful, excited, obviously.
Right.
There always is some mixed emotion because
Sure.
I care a lot about Washington University, and that's the way I choose to do this is a very personal way. I'm not an impersonal guy. I'm going to get to know people. I'm going to develop relationships, and I'm going to be very sincere in my interactions with them. And that's great when I do it. It's the only way I know how to do it. But when you end it, that makes it very difficult, and so it makes stepping away from someplace like Washington more challenging than it would be otherwise. But there's that emotion, but then there's also just this incredible excitement that this might actually be happening, and hopefulness that we can push it through the finish line.
You're a competitive guy. Yeah. I remember that. When you played, did you want to know who else was involved? Did you want that'd be human nature? Was that part of your makeup all in
Sure.
This?
I mean, I think anybody involved in these processes. I'm sorry.
Were you on the internet?
Yeah, a little bit. It's. I didn't have any more information available to me than anybody else did, and so you're right. I am a competitive guy. I like to know what I'm up against.
Right.
And But what I learned very quickly is that any information that was out there was at best partially true, and so I realized that everything I was hearing I had to take with a grain of salt, and that there was probably some kernel of truth in a lot of it, but not, of course, the entire picture. And so, there are very, very few people, I think, in reality that know exactly what transpired and who was involved, and I think that's fine. You're curious and you're trying to pick up what you can, but at the end of the day, it really was just about me and putting my best foot forward.
Fair to say you're good getting a pay raise. Is that fair to say?
Fair to say that.
Fair to say that without going into too much wash. But was that a big struggle? Was that easy? The conversation about the contract and the length and all that, was that easy for you?
It was interesting, to go through that, and it wasn't hard, but I have tremendous representation. A guy who
is that?
A guy named Bob Lattenville, and Bob represented me when I played football. Back when I left here, and his practice has evolved over time. So now he has a fairly significant portfolio of coaches and athletic directors that he represents. And he's actually based in St. Louis, and when I was coming out of school, he represented Ozzie Smith and Mark McGuire, and so I called him back because I was intrigued by that, and we've stayed good friends, and it's just been a lot of fun because it's been back sort of in a client agent relationship, and so he's just a tremendous person, and happy to have him.
Ever made that much money?
Oh gosh, no.
Not in the NFL. You never made that much.
No. In the NFL is so hit and miss, right? I mean, if I played every game, I would have made a decent living. But even back then, I think my rookie year, the minimum wage was $207. And so even if I had played the whole season, which I did not, I would have
prorated, right?
Yeah,
so every game, right?
1/17 of that is what you make every week.
Oh, I did that.
And so I remember with the Chargers, I got my first check, and it was whatever it was, $15,000 or something. I thought I won the lottery, but
bought a car. Right.
But, yeah, right, exactly. Went out and bought a yacht and a big house. But the money. This isn't about that. You know, I mean, it's an unbelievable. Don't get me wrong. I'm incredibly grateful for that, and it's an unbelievable secondary benefit. But this is about being here with these people at this place at this time and trying to provide something that we need.
Right.
Bob's question about reading rumors on the internet about yourself. Which websites, which Illini-oriented websites do you prefer, and what's your username?
Well, no, I don't have a username. I actually spent more time just on newspapers. So I read the News Gazette a lot, read the Chicago Tribune. I may have done a couple Twitter searches. Hope was our more active board watcher, and so she, as far as I know, never got a username or anything. She just saw whatever we have there. But she was kind of my go-between, because I tried not to dive too deeply into that. There's just so many people who have comments, and you can go pretty far down the rabbit hole with that if you want to.
We were all in the press box when you and Kent were a couple of weeks ago when you called Kent and said, "What is going on?"
Oh yeah, that was bizarre. That was bizarre. I was at the NCAA convention, and I was sitting in actually what they call the opening address, and so President Emmert is up on the stage, and I'm sitting 6 rows back, and all of a sudden my phone just starts going crazy, and I'm looking at it, and our sports information director from WashU was sitting next to me, and his phone's going crazy. I said, so as soon as the meeting's over, I look, and they're saying I've been hired at Illinois. I'm pretty sure I haven't been. And so that made for some interesting conversations. But it's just, I think, one example of anymore. It's a lot about who's first, not who's right.
Mm-hmm.
And just was kind of an eye-opening experience for today's social media age.
Mm.
Is Hope is your last name Whitman?
It is.
Okay, she's not a maiden name.
No, she changed her name.
You want to make sure.
Yep.
I hate to do that wrong.
No,
and
appreciate that.
yeah, it's good. What is the first thing you got, other than all the junk today and all the stuff tomorrow? What's the first thing you want to do?
Well, I think it's two things. I think you just have to start listening. You have to start gathering information. Anything they can throw at me in writing, any conversation I can have. So it's that piece, and then the second piece is just starting to build relationships. Really taking the time to get to know people, whether it's in the building or donors and alumni. And laying the groundwork for the work that is to come. I mean, it's premature to say we're going to come in and do X, Y, and Z, but starting to get a picture of what X, Y, and Z might need to be down the road.
Ron Turner said you were a very important part of the 01 team, even though you
I didn't get the ring, though.
I know that, but you ever think about that? I mean, clearly, if you redshirt, although you played in 97, so
yeah.
maybe not.
Sure, I think about it.
You do, okay.
Of course, yeah. I mean, that was a group that I was a part of,
right.
And to see Luke and Nick and all those guys,
right.
buddies of mine, have that success was incredibly exciting for me.
Sure.
I do realize if I had redshirted, I would have been a part of it, but my NFL career was not much to speak of, and the best year I had was my rookie year.
Okay.
And so if I had, you start changing it's like Back to the Future, right? You start changing the continuum, all of a sudden things might not ever be the same.
Right.
So, if I had redshirted, then I might not have ever had that opportunity in NFL. You never know.
What was the record in 97, first year? You
remember what it was. It was 0-11.
I'm going to ask you.
That was tough year.
How do you learn from that?
You learned a lot from it, and I think one of the things that I learned is that when you're doing the right thing, when you have faith that you're doing the right thing, you can't cave to pressure to change things when things aren't going well. Right. And you have to develop a process that ultimately you believe will yield results. And we were in a wrong pole that year. That was a hard year, but we knew that we were doing the right thing, and we saw inside that building every day. We knew that we were putting one step in front of the other, and that junior year, the bubble burst, and all of a sudden things were happening, and we were playing up to our potential, and that was incredibly rewarding.
That's cool.
I'm done.
I'm good. Well, I know Mark needs him for a photo with his parents. Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, you said what you needed to do. How soon can you get things started? How soon, how quickly can this
Well, I'm hesitant to ever put a firm timeline on
Right.
things. I think, as I said earlier, it's just about showing incremental improvement. It's you have to get the lay of the land. You have to understand what the challenges are. You start to then develop and implement a plan, and it's not necessarily. I think people are going to look for these seismic changes,
Right.
and it's not about the seismic changes. It's about the incremental changes that lead to seismic growth. And so, I don't know what the timeline for that is, but I think starting to make those subtle changes that ultimately yield incredible results can start very soon.
You're 37 and you have your dream job. Now, is your dream job going to last 30 years, 40 years? I mean, is that the idea for you?
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so. I'll be here as long as they'll have me.
Because mom and dad look pretty good.
They do. They look
pretty
great.
healthy.
They look
So,
great.
I was going to say, you're going to be around a while.
Yeah.
I mean, can you see being Ron MacArthur 20 years on the job?
I would be privileged to do that. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Who was the most exciting or most interesting congratulations? Other than the one.
That's interesting. Well, it's been nice. Coach Gross and Coach Cuban both reached out to me right away, which was very nice. Just heard a lot from a lot of my old teammates. Some people I haven't talked to in years. And that feedback has been really humbling and rewarding. But I mean, nobody, Tom Hanks didn't call, or and the president didn't call. So it's just a group of people that are very committed and passionate about what we do, and it's been very gratifying to hear them be excited.
What are your impressions of the State Farm Center?
I haven't seen it. I haven't been in it yet. So I've seen pictures of it on TV. I read the brochures. I understand. I've talked to people who've been in it. They say it's great. I am thrilled to get into it and see it. I've got such fond memories of that building, and I'm sure it'll be very bizarre to walk in and all of a sudden it's just this totally different place. So looking forward to that. And Warren, got all the respect in the world for Warren. I think he's such a nice job marshaling that project forward. Look forward to seeing it and helping see it through to final completion.
When you were a student athlete, what, other than your own games, what was your favorite sport to go watch? Was it basketball?
I love going to the basketball games. I love going to the volleyball games, and I love going to the wrestling games. Those are the three that I just really enjoy, and I look forward to all those sports here as well. It's just a great group of people, and I'm excited to be around all of them. You've got all these sports; they're all fantastic. So you'll see me at everything.
Did you have the orange tie in the closet, or did you have to go and buy that?
This one is new, but I brought with me literally 5 orange ties, all of which I already had. So I had a few ready to go.
Okay. All right. Sorry,
All right.
Okay,
Thanks, Josh.
guys.